Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for the next part of my series on Avalon Hill's Jutland board game. Now we've covered pretty much everything there is to do with this game in terms of how it works at the strategic level and the basics of how it works at the tactical level. But it would be a bit remiss of me to finish off without tackling the one last very interesting element in this game, which is that it has a solitaire function. Now, I find this quite impressive given that any game that involves strategic double blind can be notoriously difficult to solitaire. But the designer, Jim Dunnigan, did actually make a go of it, certainly in the second edition he did. And although it doesn't take up much acreage in the rulebook, in fact, the solitaire play chunk in the rulebook is very, very small indeed. But I just want to run through the core concepts. So beginning with the strategic phase, whether you're playing the German solitaire or the British solitaire, in a way, it doesn't really matter too much. The first thing you have to do is to create 6 German plans, which I did here. I'm sorry, they're a bit faint because they're all, I did them all in pencil, so I don't think my various plans are all that visible. But take my word for it, I created 6 different operational plans for the Germans. Now, these are free form. You can do whatever you like with them, but obviously you're encouraged to vary them a little bit so that you get a tiny bit of variety. You then create 6 British plans. Now, the British plans are a little bit more prescriptive, so I'm just going to read them out because you're given a fair bit of guidance into what needs to be doing. So the British plan number 1, and again, I apologize because I don't think these are all that visible, but here we go. The first British plan sweeps for the German fleet off the coast of Norway, which is what I attempted to do here. As you can see, times and dates and everything are in, and it involves a meetup of the Grand Fleet with the battle cruisers. British plan number 2. The sweep cannot be further south than Cromarty, which is row D. So British plan number 2 is a bit of a weird one in that I've pretty much just crammed it into the northern half of the North Sea. And for this one, I actually decided I wouldn't involve the battle cruisers. I'd leave them in Rosyth. Now, number 3 has to be between Cromarty and Rosyth. So you can see what the game's doing here. It's presenting the Brits with lots of different options. So there's my sweep between Cromarty and Rosyth involving the battle cruisers this time. Number 4 cannot be further north than Rosyth. So here we are. And this one I've actually done as purely a battle cruiser sweep. I decided to leave the fleet in port, which was probably a bit risky of me, but what the heck, you've got to live dangerously sometimes. Number 5 can be a random sweep to anywhere. So I really went to town with this one. And actually, this is the one I copied out in red ink for the benefit of one of the previous videos. So this one, I do have the various forces meeting up, doing quite a bold sweep all the way down towards the coast of Holland and then back up the British coastline. And then finally, number 6, a random sweep anywhere, but for the battle cruiser fleet only. So this is the second of the British plans I drafted with the battle cruiser fleet going out and the Grand Fleet just sort of hovering in its bases. This one well over to the German side of the North Sea and quite far, well, far-ish south, or down to Dogger Bank or thereabouts. So those were the 6 British plans. Now, what you do once you've drafted these 12 plans in total is you roll a dice to determine which of the German plans is used, and then it's compared to all of the British plans to see whether contact is made. So I'd roll my dice. Got a 5. So we've got German plan number 5. which involves a fairly cautious sweep, only halfway up the North Sea. But let's see whether it actually meets anyone en route. I'll put the British plans back in order. What I might do for the purposes of this exercise is just quickly scan them to see whether anyone meets the German fleet at any point. They don't make contact under British Plan 1. They certainly don't under Plan 2, that's the one way to the north, nor under Plan 3. Now, they might do with the British Plan 4. So they're up there by 1 p.m. on May the 30th. Where are the British? Ah, no, they're too far away. It's close, but at 1 p.m. May the 30th, as you can see, the British are somewhat to the north of them, and their courses generally diverge. Yes, there's no contact there. What about, oh no, same with British Plan 5, they're way to the north. I'm sorry if this is not very legible. And again, Plan 6, the battlecruiser sweep. At 1 p.m. 30th of May, the British are off the coast of Norway. And the Germans are not actually too far away from them, to be fair, but that's definitely out of sighting range. It's tantalizingly close. So what do you do if the plans don't meet up? Well, the procedure then is assume the British are all in their starting bases as per the standard game, and the German player, or you acting for the German player, decides at which point they wish to begin searching. Now, under German Plan 5, a logical place, I suppose, to begin searching would be maybe about there or somewhere along this line. At which point the alerted British forces will leave their bases after you've moved another 4 places. So you'd basically be there when the British start moving. And then, this being the solitaire game, the idea is to just move both fleets as quickly as you can, as you economically can, towards each other until contact is made and battle is joined. Now, in the solitaire game, there's obviously no need to call out search hexes or anything like that. You can see what's going on the map, just drive them straight at each other and bring them to battle. Now, speaking of bringing the fleets to battle, I'm very conscious that I did a whole load of small-scale demonstrations for illustrating the tactical system. But I honestly feel that I would be doing Jutland a bit of a disservice if I did not at least make an attempt to lay out a full fleet engagement, because at the end of the day, that's what this game is all about. So I'm going to detach us from the cozy comfort of my mobile phone holder. So pull away from there, because for your delectation, and I hope it also illustrates the logistical problems this game can cause in any size of room, really. Ta-da! Here is a contact between the opposing battle fleets with my dining room for scale. So the Germans were originally approaching from a southerly sort of, from a southerly direction. They were steaming sort of north-northeast. No, I lied, north-northwest, sorry. And the British were just coming round from the east, having looped around. So there is the battle area marker, which represents the centre of the hex. And here we have the Germans. Now, they should actually be doing that, but of course, again, illustrating the problems that the geography of your house might impose on the opposing fleets. The German line has been forced to bend by the presence of this rather lovely carpet that we have here. Now, I have left some ships out, terrifyingly enough. I've obviously left out the destroyers and the light cruisers. And on the assumption that there's been a preliminary engagement between the battle cruisers, I have actually reduced the number of accompanying battle cruisers. So it looks like what's happening here is that Jellicoe, bless him, has actually made a sound call, as he did in history, and deployed the fleet into line of battle just in time to encounter the Germans. But he does actually have a few problems. I mean, the Brits have a magnificent line here, stretching all the way from Royal Oak, who's leading the column. And if I just zoom past this seemingly endless line of dreadnoughts, all the way to HMS Superb at the back there. And of course, they've got their armoured cruisers providing screening forces on both sides of the fleet. But actually, to be honest, the armoured cruisers probably want to be either slowing down or getting away as best they can, because that is not something they want to get caught in between, and that's exactly where they are. Similarly, the British battle cruisers, slight miscalculation by Beatty, his surviving ships have formed up on the port wing of the Grand Fleet, which is not a good move, because not only is he obscuring the fire of several British dreadnoughts, he's also exposing his already battered ships to a lot of the metal that the high seas fleets can throw out. And yes, if you're wondering about the numbers, those are the little pre-dreadnoughts at the back there. The other British cruiser squadron is fairly safe where it is. Now, looking at the German line, as it was in history, we've got the most powerful and modern dreadnoughts in the front. And as I say, there are the pre-dreadnoughts bringing up the rear. The surviving German battle cruisers from the earlier engagement have formed up very wisely on the German fleet's port wing as well. But from here, they're sheltered behind the line of friendly ships. And once they've had a bit of a breather to recover from their early exertions, they'll be able to maybe rejoin the line somewhere or try and influence the battle in some other way. So there we go. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what it looks like when battle is joined between the two nearly full fleets of both sides in Avalon Hills, Jutland. So I just thought that would be a rather nice one to end on. Thank you all so much for bearing with me. I know I've devoted a fair bit of time to this series, but I really hope it's been worth it. I love this game to bits. I think it's a real classic, and it has matured and aged extremely well in my estimation. And I will no doubt in my final thoughts video, which is coming up next, I will be burbling endlessly about how wonderful I think it is. But fear not, I will also be pointing out some of the slight oddities. Now, I knew there was another purpose to me talking about all this. How does the Solitaire system work when you get to these magnificent lines of ships colliding head-on? Well, it's actually a little bit vague about how you do it. So the assumption is that you should make logical moves for both sides depending on what the situation is when they make contact. But if you can, draw up a tree of decisions, preferably in multiples of 3 or 6, so that whenever your enemy fleet has to make a decision, you can roll a dice and hold them to that decision. So it's quite simple, it's quite straightforward, and although it is vague, I do admire the realism by which Jim Dunnigan appreciates that weird stuff can happen in wartime, and he very much leaves it up to you as the player. I have solitaired this game before, never to completion, and I must say it does work a bit better on the strategic side than the tactical, because the trouble is you know your own mind too well, and bias is a hard thing to fight. But that said, I am very glad that there is a solitaire system in place, and the braver among you who've got more floor space than me and the inclination to try it are very welcome to do so. If you have actually tried this before, I would love to hear about it. What were your impressions of how well this game solitaires? Or indeed, do you think it solitaires well at all? That's an interesting question I'd like to leave you guys with. But in the meantime, just remains for me to thank you all again. It's been a real pleasure having you all on this series. Thank you so much for all the comments and all the engagement. I really, really appreciate those. So thank you so much, guys. I am looking forward to seeing you in the final thoughts wrap-up video. And as is my custom, I always try to end with a huge cheery wave to my long-suffering veterans who stick with me through video after video. If you are new to my channel, a very warm welcome to you. If this is the first of my videos you've ever seen, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. If it's an interest in Avalon Hill's classic game Jutland that brought you here, then please do have a look at the other videos I've made in this series. And I hope you'll find them just as useful. And if it's wargaming in general, then you are more than welcome. Have a wander around the channel. I hope you find something that you like. But whoever you are and wherever you're watching from, thank you so much. And I'll look forward to hopefully seeing you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.